Welcome back, folks, to week. Oh gosh, what is this? Five?
Episode 5.
Episode
week 4, episode 5.
Week 4, episode 5 of the D League podcast. There's been so many episodes already. It feels like, at least, that I really can't even remember which one we're on.
Yeah, I'm losing track myself. Good thing I get this handy little agenda right next to me. Without it, I would have lost track too.
Agenda? I'm off the top.
Yeah, I'm taking this serious. I came prepared today.
Oh, see, I just put everything to memory and I just roll with it. But anyways, let's jump right into it. Another interesting week of fantasy football. Another great week for some, a not so great week for others. But before we dive into that, I want to talk a little bit of Lions football. Hunter, you want to kick us off here?
Yeah, big win by the Lions. Really dominated the Falcons. The Falcons run offense didn't really do much. Our defense showed up. Brian Branch is looking like the steal of the draft. I mean, that guy's turning into one of my favorite players. It seems like he was involved in every single defensive play.
Yeah, what do he have? Like 10 solo tackles or something close to that?
Yeah, and a couple of tackle for losses.
What a game. He did look great. The defense looked great. I feel like the offense is fairly explosive, but really just consistent. What you're getting with the Lions offense, and they did their thing as well. So a couple Jared Goff picks, which we aren't really accustomed to seeing, but other than that, I mean, just a solid all-around effort from the entire team.
Yeah, and we're going into Green Bay Thursday night. You'll be there for Solo Lead of the North. I wouldn't want it any other way going into Lambeau Field.
Cannot wait. I don't know if you saw the Dan Campbell post-game speech in the locker room, but he was alluding to last year's victory at Lambeau, talking about how familiar they are with Green Bay. So really excited for that one. I can't wait. And, there's a couple other people going. One of them might be our special guest this week.
We'll see.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right into the week 3 recap. A lot went on this week in the D League, so I'll let you kick it off, take the honors, and talk about what was probably the best performance of the week.
Yeah, myself, Clark Bars football team, putting up 175 against the Circus, who put up a great 120. That would have won him his matchup against pretty much anyone else in the league besides myself and his son. But, it was a great week from the squad. I'm very happy with how my team's coming into form. And, I'm just hoping we're not peaking too early. You like to see these dominant wins, but you just hope they're not using up all their fantasy points this early in the year. Raheem Mostert might be, but that's fine.
Just got to keep the boys healthy, man. I know CMC is a guaranteed 20 points a week. I mean, what a guy to have on your team. Just got to keep him healthy. If that guy stays healthy, I mean, you're going to be tough to beat. So great performance. And, thank you for beating Mark, because I'm trying to pull my weight in the division, and it's not working out too well. But into the next matchup here, a nice in-division matchup between the Golden Taint Warriors and Chuck's Cucks. A pretty dominant performance for the Cucks. Put up a really solid 120. I mean, that's a great score, a lot higher than pretty much everyone else in the league besides a few folks. And the Golden Taint Warriors, man, they're just struggling right now.
Yeah, they have that championship hangover still. It's lasted a couple of weeks. Maybe they'll sober up and get some electrolytes in them, and maybe they'll get over that. But the Cucks, I beat them week 2. Chase had some bad decisions for sit, left some points on the bench, came back week 3, huge bounce back win, and now I'm playing him again in week 4. I'm very excited for this matchup. Great performance by Chuck.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the Chiefs come out a little slow against the Lions week 1, and then the Chiefs week 2 against the Jags. I mean, they got the win, but they looked pretty shaky. So maybe that is what it is, a little championship hangover, and maybe the Golden Taints is lasting a little bit longer than the Chiefs did after they put together a dominant performance over the Bears. But we'll see. It's only up from here for the Golden Taint Warriors, so we'll see what they can do. Next up, which was our game of the week, the Denver Dustballs and Lanks football team, 2-0 teams. What we thought was going to be a great matchup kind of turned a little bit into a dud.
Yeah, the final score 109 to Ashton, 79 to Mudge. Pretty big blowout, 30 point difference. 30 point difference. Had to check my math there, but Ashton came out, number 1 in the power rankings the entire year, and he backed it up. He may not have scored a lot, but he got just enough to get the job done in a convincing fashion.
And 109 is not a bad score. Like
No.
109 solid. You thought
in
that
our league,
Denver. Go ahead.
I was say in our league, 109 will win you most weeks. I'd say.
Yeah, good score. Denver struggled a little bit, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. So next up, we have the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, fresh off the loss of Nick Chubb against the Ogama DU Jobbers, and what a performance by the Mad Ants. I mean, they had guys going off everywhere.
Yeah, great performance. Any other week he's the highest scorer by a margin, but had to take that crown from him. You put up a good 104, like Ashton with 109, 104. That's gonna win you more often than not, I'd say. And this week you just happen to go up against the second highest scorer. So what can you do?
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. You live to fight another day. It's early in the season and a lot of ground still to be made up. So not hanging my head over this one. I thought it was a solid performance, but the Mad Ants just came to play. I did say last week in the podcast that there were two ways this matchup was going to go. One, the Mad Ants were going to crumble and lay a dud, or two, they're going to rally around this Nick Chubb injury and everyone else is going to step up, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and they did not miss Chubb. No Chubb, no problem.
Yep. I feel like I've heard that before.
Moving on to the next matchup. Last one, we had Turn Your Head in Golf putting up 94 against the Southside Silly Sliders 78. Trent coming in strong. He had a loss week 1 against me, and then has won 2 straight. And a former champ and Justin starting the year off 0-3. Not what you like to see out of your former champs, but Trent taking down a heavy favorite.
Yeah, it's good to see Trent, back in the win column there. That moves him to 2-1. I mean, this guy could be a sneaky pick there in the gold division. I mean, I don't think his team is too crazy, but he's stringing together some wins, and you can't argue with the results. So good performance by him. 94 is a pretty average, but pretty decent score.
It was enough.
Yeah, it was enough to get the job done. I mean, 78 from the Sliders. I mean, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah, I don't know. He's dealing with some injuries, I believe. I believe Saquon was out this week, and he may have had another personnel, which, that's going to hurt when your first round pick's out, but you know the feeling. A couple other people have known the feeling. I don't know. You hope to see him bounce back, but it was a poor performance.
Well, here's what we can say. The guys looked pretty bad to start the year, and he's one game back of a playoff spot right now. So a ton of season left. And
that's that Maroon division for you.
Hey, what can you say? We beat up on each other, but it only makes us tougher come playoff time. So that's the week 3 recap. A lot of good games, and pretty excited for the next week's matchups. But before we get into those, I do want to discuss the most coveted part of this podcast, the power rankings. Everyone wants to know where they stand, and a couple surprises, if I must say so myself.
Yeah, honestly, not a lot of movement in these polls. Starting off, we got Ashton sitting atop the number 1 spot. No surprise, came out preseason number 1. He's won ever since. It's going to take either a massive performance by myself or Dust Balls to knock him off, or he's going to have to lose. But that's not coming anytime soon, I think.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I thought his team played fine. He put up a decent score, but when you have the number 2 player, which, I'm going to give that away, Mr. Hunter Clark Bar's football team, put up almost 180 points. You think maybe there's a chance that he can jump to that number 1 spot. Clearly, the committee thinks that, Why Can't I Win needs to drop a game before that happens. And so he stays there at the 1. So as I just said, number 2, Clark Bar's football team put up a dominant performance, probably the best performance we're going to see all year. I'll be shocked if someone tops that 175. But yeah. How do you feel about being in the 2 spot?
Yeah, I like being in the 2 spot. The number 1 spot would be nice, but, you got a big target on your back. And the committee just shows that they value wins over points more. And I'm fine with being in the 2 spot. Eventually Ashton's going to lose, and hopefully my team just keeps rolling. And as long as I'm number 1 at the end of the year, that's all I care about. Yeah,
love it. So these next 2... I sat here when I received these power rankings, and I was really trying to figure out how these 2 ended up where they are. Number 3 and number 4, Denver Dust Balls and Fort Wayne Mad Ants. So let's start with the Dust Balls. They were at 3 last week.
Yeah.
They put up, what did he put up?
79.
79 points. got dominated in the game of the week, the biggest matchup on a national stage, and he didn't drop. So
the committee just views Ashton that high that a loss to him, it would have happened to most people in the league. So they're not going to knock you too much for that, I guess. I still think he should have dropped a couple spots, but the committee knows something that we don't. And, maybe the Dust Balls bounce back with a dominant performance in week 4.
Let's hope not. Anyways, the number 4 spot, the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. I mean, the guy had a great week. He put up 150 points, got 30 plus from his defense. Like, points were flying everywhere for this guy. But to go up 4 spots, I mean, that's a huge jump. And I got to be careful what I say because this guy keeps his receipts. But that's a huge jump for a team that throughout the entire season hasn't really put up, a ton of super impressive performances until last week. And keep in mind, he did beat a guy that didn't have a win yet. So what do you feel about Fort Wayne being at the 4 spot?
I don't mind the move up. It just makes you question why I didn't get ahead of Ashton if we're gonna value points that much to where the Mad Ants can move up 4 spots. But it was a dominant performance, 150. You said mine might be one of the highest scoring totals on the year. I think 150 might be up there too. That's a lot in our format. I think he deserves to be in the top 5 spot. And then moving on to number 5 though, we got the Cucks moving down a spot. How you feel about the Cucks hovering around that 5 spot?
I don't know. I mean, I think putting up 120 points and getting the win and then dropping a spot is a little crazy for me. It's questionable, but I mean, look at the college football polls. You got teams going out, dominating, winning by 3 scores on the road and dropping, 3 and 4 spots. So,
I wonder who that's about.
So, it can happen. And clearly, like you said, the committee might know something that we don't. They're watching these games probably a little bit closer than we are. And so we're just going to trust them,
Yeah, we'll trust the committee. And moving on, we got the Turn Your Head and Golf at the 6th spot. Not much surprise here. Came out, won against the winless Sliders team. Not gonna really move you in the polls unless you put up a lot of points. So move on to Mark, the Circus, down 2 spots to the number 7. This surprised me. I mean, you should get knocked off for losing, but Mark put up a great performance. 120. He would have beat most teams in the league. I don't know if I agree with him moving down 2 spots here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to move someone down when they have a great performance, but they just get outscored. So I don't know what I would have done if I was the one that made these power rankings. And newsflash, I'm not. I really don't know what I would have done. I think him around the 5 to 7 area is pretty accurate as of now. So him dropping to 7, I don't hate it, and I think it's fine.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder how the Dust Balls didn't move after getting blown out and putting up less points than the Circus did by almost 40. I don't know. The committee knows something I don't. I'm going to stop talking before they save all these receipts.
The inconsistencies across the movement here, I can't explain it, but what's understood doesn't need to be explained, and what's understood is that the committee knows what they're doing, and I'm just not going to question them. So on to the number 8 spot, the Ogama Do You Jobbers. What felt like another just repeat performance of scoring a decent amount at a decent clip, but just not enough to get the job done, and just playing for the 3rd week in a row, a top 2 scorer in the league.
Yeah, you have been unlucky with the points again. So you're putting up right around middle of the pack, a little above average points wise. I expect you to move up in these rankings in a couple weeks here. It's just once the points again start going your way, you start moving up.
Yeah, we'll see. I think defenses are averaging almost 30 points per game against me, which is always tough to go against.
Who does Dallas have this week?
I don't know, but I'm terrified of the Denver Dallas Dust Balls defense. But maybe one of these weeks I can be the highest scorer. That way I don't have to worry about the points
you don't
against.
Have to worry about it.
But I mean, when you have more points than 3 or 4 2-win teams in the league, it's just frustrating. But you can only control what you can control, and we're just gonna keep our head down and do you job. So on to number 9 here, the Southside Silly Sliders, another kind of dud of a performance. They stay at 9, and I mean, we can skip right to 10. Another dud for the Warriors as well. They stay at 10, so not a ton of movement there at the bottom.
Yeah, not really much to talk about. Maybe next week they'll get their first win, and we can talk more about them. But let's move on to this week's matchups. You know, starting off here, we got myself 3-0 against the Cucks 2-1. You know, this could have some playoff implications down the line. I already have one win over Chuck. We're in the same division. If I can get the second win over him and be 4-0 against his 2-2, you know, I like my chances against a guy who's always in the mix in the gold division.
Yeah, I mean, especially after having him on the pod and getting some insight into, you know, how his brain kind of functions when it comes to fantasy football, I think that he's going to make a lot of smart moves throughout the rest of the season, and he could look back on this game and think, wow, what a big win as he's, you know, coasting in the playoffs, or he could look back and think, damn, if I would have beat Hunter, like maybe this was my year. So a big matchup this early in the season, and I think it definitely could have some implications down the road.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I think this will be a shootout. I'm predicting both teams are putting up 120 plus.
I like it, and that's exactly what we need. So on to the second game. The Golden State Warriors and Turn Your Head and Golf. The Warriors looking to get one and post one in the win column, and I think if I remember correctly, Josh had sent a text earlier that this is a different team this week. You know, these guys have ran into each other once. Turn Your Head and Golf obviously got the better of him. But do we think that the Golden State Warriors are coming with a new crew this week?
You have to, you know, I'm not one to kiss and tell, but you know, I did get some trade offers from the Golden State Warriors. So I just got to imagine they're staying active in the league. I expect them to make some noise this week. And I don't think they're going to have the same starting roster that they did the first 3 weeks. I think they're going to switch something up, and, you know, former champ's going to get back in the win column.
Yeah, I think this is a really big week for him and for all the 0-3 teams for that matter. I mean, starting 0-4 is really tough, and you're just digging yourself a really deep hole. And so a win this week would be huge for the Warriors. So on to the next one. We have the game of the week here, the first of two Mauser Bowls. And this is coming off a great week for both of these guys.
Yeah, you know, Mark coming off an L, but like we mentioned earlier, you still put up 120, which is going to win you most weeks. And then the Mad Ants putting up a dominant 150 performance. You know, the Mauser Bowl, it's always going to be a good one, and I expect this one to be the same. I expect both teams to come out firing, and whoever wins gets bragging rights for a couple weeks until week 11.
Yeah, who you taking here? Just out of curiosity.
I'm riding with the circus. You know, I think the Mad Ants had a fluke win last week. You can clip that if you want. And I think the circus is going to stay consistent. They're gonna get a win. I'm
gonna stay away from predicting this one. I've already been called out once, so I'm excited to see how this one plays out. I'm excited for you to be the one that gets clipped next time. And sorry for throwing you out and baiting you like that, but it's what I had to do to get the.
We'll see if he listens this far.
I had to get the target off my back because I've already been burned once. I'm not gonna be burned again. So on to the next matchup. We do have a repeat of week 1. We have the 0-3 Ogama Do You Jobbers against the 2-1 Dust Balls. Not really sure what to expect. I feel like Mudge is a team that can put up 70 or that can put up 140, and it's just gonna depend on what type of Dust Balls we get this week.
Yeah, hopefully you get the Dust Balls of last week, put up 80, and you can get your first win. But I'm excited. Both you guys will be in Green Bay at the game. I don't know if either of you have players playing Thursday night, but you guys are gonna have a blast, and I think you might get your first win this week. I'm calling it now. The Do You Jobbers are gonna get in the win column.
We will see. Really excited for the game on Thursday, and maybe for the game before it, we might have another live podcast guest from Lambeau Field. So we shall see.
Love it.
Maybe some foreshadowing here, you could say, but it's going to be a good matchup. Hopefully we can get in the win column and start thinking about that playoff race. This would be a good one to get it started. So last but certainly not least, Langs football team 3-0 against the 0-3 Silly Sliders. I mean, two guys on completely different ends of the spectrum here.
Yeah, throughout history of the D League, they've been in opposite spectrums as well. But this year, the script has flipped, and Langs football team undefeated against the defeated Sliders. I personally, I don't think anything changes. I think Langs football team's gonna come out with another win, and they're just gonna keep cruising until those playoffs. Yeah,
well, it is funny because you don't usually see Langs football team on the top and the Southside Silly Sliders here on the bottom. So the script really has flipped, and I'm curious to see how Langs football team responds to, getting everybody's best game. He talked when he was on the pod about, being humble and just taking it week by week. But do you think at any point, he gets a little cocky, gets a big head, and then just gets upset? Could this be the week?
I think this is the week. I think he's gonna win this week. It's gonna be another narrow victory. Well, I guess last week wasn't narrow. I think he's gonna put up like 100. Justin might put up 80, 85. He's gonna win. Ego might start getting a little inflated, especially if I get knocked off the undefeated. He's the only undefeated team left. I could see that humbleness going away real quick. Yeah, I don't blame him. If I was 4-0-2 sitting at the top of the league, I'd be chirping as well.
Well, here's what I've learned in many years of the D League. Never count out the sliders. So even 100%. Though they're 0-3, I think this team still has a lot of potential. They're only a couple big plays away from getting into that win column, and I could see it happening this week. So I don't want to say I'm rocking
game out of the playoffs. One game out of the playoffs.
Yep. I don't want to say I'm rocking with the sliders this week, but I do think they have a chance. So it should be an interesting matchup.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, let's get over to the best part of the segment. And for the second time in the history of the D-League podcast, we are live from Thursday Night Football. Let's kick it over to Lambeau Field, Green Bay. A huge game coming up tonight. Let's do it.
What's going on, everybody? We're here on the best part of the D-League podcast. We got a special guest, and we're in a special place. I don't know if you can zoom in here and see where we're at, but we are live for the second time from an opposing stadium at the Lions game. As you see here, we got our guest, Nathan Mudge. Nate, what's it mean to you to be on the podcast here today from Lambeau Field?
Thanks for having me, first and foremost. Wish your co-host could be here, Mr. Hunter Clark. This is my first time traveling to Lambeau. I can't wait to see a win with some of my buddies. Although I'm playing you, there's no hostility this week because we're all focused on the Lions, so I'm loving it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mudge told me this morning that he's cheering for Sam Laporta inside Lambeau Field tonight. I don't know if he remembers, he is on my team, and I am looking for a revenge game on you here today. So, Hunter, we miss you, but we're excited to get this one rolling. We'll keep it short. We'll keep it sweet. We got some business to attend to here. But, Mudge, first question, I just got to know. We've asked everyone that's been on the show here, what's your favorite memory from the D-League? Anything that stands out in particular to you?
I don't know there's one single memory. I think it's everything along the way. There's the nuances of each and every year, a little bit different how we've kind of maintained the same core group, that even though we've all kind of spread out, we've had different types of drafts, that we all come together, and that's what I look forward to every year in football, and the camaraderie that we all have. One individual moment, man, I had to choose. It's tough to choose with so many. I know it's been referenced before, the Wi-Fi getting unplugged. The draft. I like the draft board in Lane's house. The one time we had the physical board with the stickers. That's always a good time, and it's always a good time. I think the first champs dinner. I don't remember where we went, but we brought the trophy, and we looked like some.
Was it Black Rock? Does that sound right?
It might have been Lucky's at this time. I don't know if they had Black Rock at that point.
And did they let me attend?
We might have. I remember letting Lane attend. R.I.P. Lane. But to take some photographs for the dinner, but. Good times.
For sure. So I know this year some rivalries have been unveiled. You were assigned Mr. Hunter Clark, who right now is looking like a dominating force in the D-League. Any thoughts on having Hunter as your rival?
Yeah, no. Happy to see Hunter put up a great, he's always consistently right there. I don't think he's gotten over that hurdle yet. Could this be his year? I don't know. There's some tough teams out there, including I feel pretty strongly about my own. I just know that whenever we play against each other, hopefully they're going to be a good one. We give the fans what they want. But his team's looking real solid, starting off strong. I think number 1 or 2 in the power rankings. Who knows? That's for later on in the episode, or before this episode. Who knows? We'll see what Trent decides to do. So yeah, he's got a great team.
Well, last but certainly not least, I don't want to cut you short here, but I know, like I said, we have some business to attend to, so we'll end on this. Mudge, you're a founding father of the D-League. You've been in it from the start. Just want to give you the floor. Anything you want to tell, your fellow members, the other fans out here watching, all across the world watching the D-League podcast. The floor is yours, my man. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, no, kind of like I touched on, there's nothing like being a part of a D-League, no matter how many other leagues I'm a part of. PPR, Dynasty, whatever, it doesn't matter. The D-League's always strong. Like I said, that's the best part about the D-League is that, it's just a group of guys that for 10 years plus, we've been consistently chopping it up, drafting. Everybody's competitive. Some more so than others in the regular season, then falter in the playoffs like Ashton. But, I'm feeling good about this year, feeling real strong about my team. And, I see 2 top dogs, and I think I'm right there. And I think, I would have beaten Ashton if I had a healthy team. I'm not going to blame it. I like the injury bug coming early, not later. But I'm excited for this year and how it transpires.
For sure. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We're excited to get into Lambeau Field tonight. Excited for everyone. Special appearance here from another member. But thanks again, and back over to the studio to wrap this thing up. Peace.
Thank you.
All right. Another great interview. I wish I could have joined you guys, but couldn't afford it after going to Kansas City for the Chiefs game. Lions, big win. We're leading the North. Love it. But next week, let's talk about the agenda. We're going to recap week 4. We're going to go over the biggest surprises, biggest disappointments. We're going to have new power rankings. And then we're going to end it with a new guest.
Yeah, I mean, it's always really interesting hearing Mudge talk, just because he's such a great fantasy football player. Like, has he had some down years? Yeah, of course. But he's always putting up numbers and always competing. So was really excited to have him on the pod. I mean, so cool to do it from Green Bay too. We're in for a hell of a night, and I can't wait for the Lions to get it done, man. We're the Kings of the North incoming, and it's only up from here. I can't wait.
Definitely. It's going to be a good one.
Alrighty, well, thank you guys for joining. The fact that I got clipped last week makes me think maybe there are some people that actually watch this. So if you've made it this far in the episode, kudos to you. We appreciate it. It's really fun doing it, and it's always funny to see that people are actually watching it. So thank you, and looking forward to next week. Good luck this weekend, everybody, and peace.
See ya.